when you have your picture, you're going to use the drawing tool to create a black line. You can use the radius to make it really, really small, and you can change the color around. So I'm going to make it as black as I can. Right there demonstrates the line that you're using. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to trace over all the parts of my face. If you look closely, you can see that I already drew the line. Then I'm going to go to the layers, and I'm going to close the eye, that eye shape. I'm going to close the eye on my photo. And when I look at my drawing, I see that I have enough to go on to the next step. Whoops, I made a little mistake. So we're going to tap this. I can unlock the face, make sure that I have the blue highlighted, and now I'm going to go to the drawing tool, and I'm going to try to choose a skin color. And this is very tricky. The best way to do it is to choose something fat, like a paintbrush. Make the radius very large, because then you could see the color that you're working with. And start playing around with this. Skin color comes from about this area of the orange. So you're probably not going to find a skin color if you're in the blue. You're probably not going to find a skin color if you're in the green. But our skin color is like a peach based on an orange. So start there and then move this little tool around the middle till you get to the color that you like. So I found a color that I like. It's a darker skin color. I'm going to make the radius very thin, and instead of a paintbrush, I'm going to use an airbrush for this. So I choose my airbrush tool and make the radius on the thin side. The opacity, if the opaque or the opacity is up high, then it's very non-translucent. You can't see through it. But if you make it very small, then it's transparent. See, it practically disappeared. So I'm going to start with it very low. And I'm going to make sure that I'm drawing on the drawing, which is the blue part. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to begin to fill my face with color. I think I can get away with making that a little bit wider. There we go. See how it's a nice airbrushed color? You may like to do this with your picture showing underneath. I personally don't. So I'm going to close my eye on the photo, and I'm going to start filling my skin color. And the reason why I like to do it this way is so that I don't do it and have a bunch of holes in it. So I'm going to come around, and I can go over the lines of my lips and the lines of my nose and the lines of my eyes, because I'll still be able to see them. And I'm going to fill the entire face with the skin color. Once I have my face filled with skin color, I can adjust it a little bit. So maybe I'm going to add some shadows into my nose. I can make this a little darker with this little dial. It's going to make the skin color a little bit darker. Let's see how that looks. Not quite dark enough. Let's make it a little darker. I think that's a good shadow. Hit back. I'm going to change my tool. Not my tool, but I'm going to change the radius of it. Make it smaller. And then I can come in and create a little edge around my nose. That way I won't need that pencil line anymore. Now that's kind of dark. I want to make it more subtle, so maybe I should make it a little more transparent. Turn the opacity down. Let's try that again. That looks nice. I can blend it out. Maybe come around and make another shadow over here. And start thinking about the dark parts of the face. Eyes are darker because your eyebrow creates a shadow. So above your eyes, there's usually darker tones of skin color. Also, we all have some kind of bags under our eyes. So under your eyes usually has a darker tone of skin color. We could do the same thing for the other eye. Under our nose, there's always a little bit of a shadow cast. We have a darker tone of skin color there because our nose is popping out and creating a shadow. Also under our lips. Oops, there's a slight shadow. So if you can't look at the photo underneath your drawing anymore, you can look at the kid that's sitting right across from you, and you can look at where his face causes shadows. We're all built the same way, so it's pretty much the same everywhere. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep building and keep shading, and I'm going to make those lines go away, and I'm going to turn those lines into edges. So now if you look at my face, there's a nose, and I did it all with value and different tones of value, and there are no outlines anymore. A little bit along the nostrils, but I'm going to show you how we're going to put a shadow in there. So now I have the darker tones on my skin, and I have the medium tones on my skin. I need to make lighter tones. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Let's make this fatter so I can see what I'm doing. We could try to go a little bit on the light side. Let's see how that looks. That's too light. That might actually work. Let's go back to making it mostly transparent, because it'll look good if it's mostly transparent, which will give us a real subtle shading technique. I'm going to go back to the airbrush and I'm going to make it small. And let's see if I can come in and make my nose have a nice little highlight. It's pretty subtle. My nose just became three-dimensional. Pop a little bit of light on there. I could even, this little crease usually has a light spot in between, so now I made it look like it was two darks. I'm going to put a little highlight around my lips to get rid of this black line, because remember, we should be creating edges. We draw with lines, but we shade to create edges and make lines go away. That's what makes you guys more sophisticated artists than you were when you were young. So I have some nice highlights here. I don't think I really need too many more. I'm actually not liking the way that just looked, so I'm going to erase it. My nose really pops forward. It's a natural highlight to have one on your chin, especially if you have a chin like mine. So there's some nice highlights, and my skin looks nice. I want you to remember how difficult this was to do, and don't mess it up when you go to the next step.